Welcome to this week's episode of Your Stock Request for the 27th of February. Hi, I'm Michael Gable, Managing Director of Fairmont Equities. Your Stock Request is the weekly video where I take your requests and analyse the share price charts. So this week we have Fortescue, PPK, Pro Medicus, Helios and API. So if you have a request, send it through. Make sure you've signed up to the free newsletter. Please share these videos on social media, and if you do enjoy these videos, we'd love to get a review from you on Google or Facebook. And finally, just remember, any advice, of course, is general only. So we'll start off with Fortescue. So we'll zoom into the daily chart. It's obviously been holding up pretty well considering the events of the last week or two. At the moment, it's holding on to this prior low. So we've obviously had that sort of massive run up where it went to an all-time high, and then it's come off, but it is holding on to this low. So looking pretty good. I think if the rest of the market does continue to give way, then Fortescue is likely to head lower. We can see there's been this uptrend line here, so potentially it comes back and the next level of support is near $10. But ultimately Fortescue is one that, given its relative strength, when everything dies down with the broader market, it's one that I'd be looking at potentially buying. Okay, PPK. So obviously it was trying to have a very nice run up here earlier in the year, and then that, like most stocks in the market, it's come back fairly deeply over the last few days. Obvious support of $5, so let's see if it can bounce here, but again, if the broader market's going down, this will probably go down too. In terms of a target, what we can look at is, if we're looking at this as a three-wave decline, often the movement down here is equal to the movement down there. So if we get our fib tool, sort of measure that and then extrapolate that here, then we get levels about 440, but sometimes it may extend to 1.6, meaning this movement, if we times that by about 1.6 and extrapolate that there, then it gets us potentially down just under 3, but we could see that $3 was a turning point for it in the past. So I think they're the next two potential levels if this stock falls through $5. Okay, Pro Medicus. I actually really liked the look of this one earlier in the year. I thought it was trading fairly well. It started to make some higher highs and lows, and then we had this big movement on the day of their results. So we've gone from sort of small daily trading ranges, which is good, to this, these huge ranges. Obviously, it's continued to fall. Broader market not helping it. So look, it's back at the December low, which is potentially support. I mean, you could argue that, it's just broken it yesterday. So look, I think if the broader market's okay, this one could bounce from here, but with the broader market looking pretty weak, I wouldn't be surprised if it does breach this level and continue to head lower. So at the moment it's I think the risk at the moment is to the downside. We need to find it re-establish some proper support again. Helios, so a nice gap up yesterday. Does make it tricky because there is a bid on the table. I think it's around that 350 mark. Previous peaks last year show us that we're going to get some resistance here on the daily chart, but even if we move to the weekly, we can see that we're potentially up at a resistance level again in terms of this trend line. So, I think it's got a lot of work to do before it can potentially head higher. And finally, API. So if we go to the daily chart, so very clearly there was some support at this level, but it has broken it in the last few days. Now, what we need to see, if this is going to be a false break, is we need to see it quickly get back above this line. If it can do it pretty much in the next day or two, it needs to pretty much do it this week, I reckon, then that'd actually be a really bullish sign to break support and then quickly get back above it. that would be very bullish. But I think the chances of that are fairly low. Worth keeping an eye out for, but if it can't get back above here in the next day or two, then I think there's a big risk that it just continues to fall quite a bit. So for this support to be in place for about a year and for it to break and not get above it, we're going to see a fairly sustained decline, I think, in API's share price. Okay, well, that's it for this week. If you have a request, send it through and I'll try to include your stock for you.